Hello everyone, it's Miss Angela from the Fort Worth Public Library. Welcome back to another Fort Worth Nature Center Discovery Club story time. Today we are talking about the sun. Do you know a song about the sun? I know one. If you know it, go ahead and sing along with me. Oh, Mr. Sun, Sun, Mr. Golden Sun, please shine down on me. Oh, Mr. Sun, Sun, Mr. Golden Sun, hiding behind a tree. These little children are asking you to come on out so we can play with you. Oh, Mr. Sun, Sun, Mr. Golden Sun, please shine down on me. I like that song. Let's sing it one more time. Make sure to do the motions. Grown-ups, did you know that motions can help reinforce vocabulary? Oh, Mr. Sun, Sun, Mr. Golden Sun, please shine down on me. Oh, Mr. Sun, Sun, Mr. Golden Sun, hiding behind a tree. These little children are asking you to come on out so we can play with you. Oh, Mr. Sun, Sun, Mr. Golden Sun, please shine down on me. Great job, everyone. Our story for today is from the Cherokee people, and it's called Grandmother Spider Steals the Sun. A long time ago, they say,
half of the world had the sun, but the other side of the world did not. And so all the animals on this side of the world were bumping into each other and getting lost. Fox was the leader of all the animals. She gathered them all together and spoke to them. Animals, I know you are tired of living in darkness, always bumping into each other and getting lost. I have heard of some people on the other side of the world who have a sun which gives them plenty of light. They don't bump into each other or get lost, and it is always nice and warm. Now these people are too greedy to share their sun with anyone else. But we aren't greedy like them. We only need to take a small piece of their sun. But how will we do it? Possum said that he would steal sun. I have a beautiful bushy tail, he said. I can hide the sun in all of that fur. Let me try. So Possum went to the other side of the world and found the sun. It was hanging up in a tree and lighting up everything. Possum took a piece of the sun and hid it in the fur of his tail. But the sun was so hot that it burned all of Possum's tail hairs off. To this day, Possum has a bare tail. The people discovered Possum and took the piece of the sun back. The animals had another meeting. Poor Possum did his best, but we are still in darkness. Now what can we try? Asked Fox. Buzzard said, I am brave. I will try next. I will take a piece of the sun and put it on my head so that I can see where I am going with it. I can fly, so maybe the people will not catch me. So he tried to take the sun too. He flew to the other side of the world and balanced a piece of the sun on top of his head as he flew away from the tree. But it was so hot that it burned all of Buzzard's feathers off of his head, and he fell to the ground. To this day, Buzzard's head is bald and ugly. The people discovered Buzzard and took the sun back. The animals gathered again. Now what will we do? Fox asked. Possum has burned his tail and Buzzard has burned his head. The animals all looked at each other and did not say anything. After some time of silence, Grandmother Spider said, I have been thinking. Let me try. Grandmother Spider, we all have the greatest respect for you, said Fox, but you are so small. Do you really think you can steal a piece of the sun? I do, said Grandmother Spider, and I have a plan. The other animals weren't so sure, but none of them had a plan, so they cheered for Grandmother Spider. First, Grandmother Spider made a very thick clay pot, big enough to put the piece of the sun in. Then she spun a web which reached all the way to the other side of the world. She was so small and quiet that these people did not notice her at all. When she was ready, she quickly snatched up the sun in her big clay pot and hurried back home along her web. Now her side of the world had light and warmth. All of the animals rejoiced at Grandmother Spider's gift.
The end. Thanks for joining us, everyone. It's time to pass it over to Mr. Michael from the Nature Center to talk more about the sun. See you next time.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Discovery Club. I am sad to say this is our last month of our virtual Discovery Club. So It makes me sad a little bit because I enjoy coming out to you to your living room, your backyard, however you view me and Miss Angela. I'm gonna miss doing that. However, I want to let you know we are open. The Nature Center is open. So if you're interested in learning about nature, we still have plenty of opportunities for that. In fact, right now, I have a staff member. She's teaching some children about insects. So check on our website and look for some activities we have for you to learn more about nature and discover nature. So again, it is sad that this is our last month that we're going to meet together, but I'm here. Come on down and visit me and our staff and come learn about nature. I'm also sad that this is our last month. We're going to be working with Miss Angela at the Fort Worth Public Library. She's been such a wonderful partner in our Discovery Club. And thank you so much, Miss Angela, for all your wonderful enthusiasm, your storytelling, your songs and such. You've been a wonderful complement to our program. So thank you so much. And we look forward to working with you and the Fort Worth Public Library for years to come. So with that being said, thank you, Miss Angela, for that story time. Now we're going to get into our lesson, and we're talking about the sun. Now, the sun, it's actually out today. I don't know if you remember last week, just all the rain, or last few weeks for that matter, for the month of May, we've been so wet with all the rain, and the clouds have been covering the sky. Now we knew the sky was around. We just couldn't, the sun was around. We just couldn't see it because of all the clouds and such. So we are so glad that the sun is out so we can talk about the sun. Now, every week that we meet, I try to bring out something that represents what we're going to be talking about. We've seen, over the years, we've seen alligators, we've seen turtles, snakes, and so forth. I tried to get the sun, but I couldn't quite get it. It was so blinding. I could barely look at it, and I was afraid to even touch it because it's pretty hot. And we're going to talk about that. So just if you want to know what the sun looks like, just go outside, get some sunshades on, and look up in the sky, especially on a nice clear day, and you'll see the sun. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to talk about the sun itself, give you some facts about the sun. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how we benefit from the sun. How do people benefit from the sun? And then we're going to end it and talk about wildlife and how they utilize the sun and how they benefit. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So first of all, the sun. Did you know the sun is actually a star? It's actually the closest star to our planet. And you look at it and you think, that's a star, really? When you think about stars, you have a tendency to think about when it's really, really dark and you see those bright. And we actually did a lesson, if you remember, for those of you who have been faithful and viewed and so forth, or caught that lesson, we did talk about stars and so forth. We went through some constellations, but that's what we think about when we think about stars. We don't think about the sun, but the sun is our closest star. In fact, all the planets, including Earth, and all the other planets like Jupiter and Saturn and Mars and so forth, it is called we call it the solar system, and you may know that. The solar system is the sun and all the planets that orbit and go around the sun. And the sun is very, very important to the solar system. Number one, it's the center of the system, of the solar system. Everything goes around it. Earth goes around the sun, and that's where we get our years. We spend one time around the sun, that's a year, and our days based on how the Earth is moving. Okay, and we talked about that too before. Now, if you were to get the sun and you were to put all the planets in your hand in the sun, first of all, you can't do that. But imagine, in our imagination, we collected all the planets and the sun. Well, the sun actually weighs about 99% of the whole solar system. So it's a really big part. It's the most important part. In fact, it's so important that they named the whole system the solar system. Solar refers to the sun. So the whole solar system is named after it, the sun itself. Now, let's talk about how big. Now, it is big. In fact, if you had 1 million Earths, can fit inside, and we can open the sun. We can put 1,000,000 Earths inside the sun. It's that big. It's huge. Other things about the Earth, it's really hot. In fact, it can reach temperatures of 11,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty hot. Now, it's not the hottest thing out there. Lightning tends to be 4 times as hot, but the surface of the sun is about 11,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It is our closest star, as we said, but yet it's still far away. In fact, if you were to get in your car, you're in your car, you're driving with your mom and your dad, and say you're driving the same speed as, say, on an interstate. You're on Interstate 20, Interstate 820, the loop, or Interstate 30, and you're driving at the speed limit, which is around 60 miles an hour in certain places and most places. If you're in that car and you're driving 60 miles an hour, boy, you'd have to take a lot of snacks, because it takes over 117 years. That's right, I said 117 years before you can get from here to the sun. If you're driving 60 miles an hour, like you're driving on Interstate 20 with your mom and your dad. Man, now, of course, that's without any stops. You know, we have to stop to go to the restroom. We have to get snacks. Oh, we want to go to the park, and the park along that park along the road there that's designed to park and rest and play. Then it'd probably take you 217 years. But anyway, it's far off, but still our closest star. And it takes a long time to get there. But how about that light? The light that's shining on us. Every morning you get up and you see like a sunrise. You think, well, it takes 117 years for that light to get here. No, light's much faster than us. In fact, it takes only 8 minutes. 8 minutes before that light leaves the sun and comes to the earth. So that's a little bit about the sun. It's hot. It's the closest star. It is a star. It's very large. You fit 1,000,000 Earths in it. Again, it's pretty far, but the light gets here pretty quickly within 8 minutes. That's pretty cool. Now let's try and transition and talk about, as that light is being shown from the sun and couldn't get into the earth in that 8 minutes time, when it gets here, what are the benefits? How do we benefit from having the sun? Well, let's talk about some personal benefits. How does it benefit us? Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, we can sit in the sun and it warms us up. Now, sometimes it gets too hot. We're like, oh, we're sweating. But it warms us up. You know, on a cold morning, the sun comes out, at least gives us some warmth. So that we can warm up. Other benefits about sunlight, and you may think this is silly, but it puts us in a good mood. It helps our mood. It makes us happy, because the sun, as the sunlight comes in, hits our body, goes in. We get inside. We develop this chemical that goes to our brain, and it basically puts us in a good mood. It keeps us focused and relaxed. So it's a very, very important aspect. And I love being outside. I love being outside. If I'm not at work and I'm not doing something at home, I love to be hiking, exploring, and I like being outside. And I can tell you, and those around me who know me, if I'm not outside, or it's been a while since I've been outside, I'm not in the best of mood. I'm just not as happy. But then I get outside. After a while, I'm walking and enjoying nature, enjoying the sun. All of a sudden, my mood just changes. And I think it does that for you too. So I encourage you to get out and be in the sunlight, because it's going to help your mood. Also, the opposite, your body makes this chemical inside that helps you go to sleep. Okay? Well, how does the sun do that? Because that stuff that makes me go to sleep, is being produced in the dark. Well, how does the sun help that? This is how the sun helps it. If you go outside, your body has this part of your body. It knows when it's night and it's day. It knows when it's developing the happy stuff to make you happy and in a good mood, and the stuff to slow you down, calm you down, and put you to sleep, because you need rest. We need a long day, a good night's rest every day. So the more time you spend outside, the more you get of that chemical to make you happy, and your body feels the balance of it. So, and then whenever you start slowing down, it gets dark and whatever, there's no sun, it's had enough of that sunlight to create the chemical that makes you happy. It slowly transitions right into making that melatonin, that chemical that helps you to sleep. So there's a nice balance. If you have too much of something, it's never good to have too much of something. too much sleep, too much sun, you can get burned. So everything's just a moderation. Just a little bit of that sun helps you get a little bit of the stuff that makes you sleep at night, and you'll be in a nice balance. A nice balance, okay? And that's very important. The sun does that. Also, the sun helps you with vitamin D. And vitamin D is very important for two reasons. Number one, it makes your bones strong. I have never, and I'm outside a lot, I've never broken a bone because my bones are strong because of all that vitamin D. And you don't want a broken bone. My son is just going through that process. He got his cast off. Now he has a brace. Not because not lack of sun, but what I'm saying is vitamin D does make your bones nice and strong. Also, it helps your immune system, so you don't get sick as much. So if you're out in the sun, it gets all that vitamin D. You get the vitamin D, and it helps you stay healthy, and you won't get infections or sicknesses and illnesses as often or as much as maybe someone who just doesn't get any sunlight or much sunlight. Okay, so the sun is very important because it helps improve your mood and improve your bones, help your strong bones, and help you fight infections and have that vitamin D to offset any illnesses and so forth, or get very little of those as opposed to not having much sunlight. So the sun is a really important part of our solar system. That's what our solar system is named after. It's a big, massive gas I didn't mention about, which is a lot of hydrogen and helium and nitrogen, carbon, all those things. You're like, what in the world is he talking about? Just a bunch of stuff that makes that sun. It's very hot and big. And then we talked about how as that heat is transferred to us, that sunlight, the rays are translated and transferred to us in a matter of 8 minutes to the earth. And we get to enjoy it. We can sleep well, we can fight infections and not get sick as much, have strong bones, and be in a really good mood. That's really important. So now let's talk about wildlife. We talked about what the sun is and the benefits to us. How about wildlife? Well, the last few weeks, we've kind of talked about that, right? We talked about food webs. We talked about predator-prey relationships, and the sun was paramount and key in those things. Remember, the sun produces the energy for plants to grow, for animals to have a food source, and then other animals eat each other, that predator-prey relationship. So the sun is important because it helps provide the energy to make food for all the animals around us, so we don't have to feed them all the time. Also, the sun is very important for reptiles. Reptiles are ectothermic. Can y'all say ectothermic? All right, good job. Or cold-blooded animals, and those are animals that cannot regulate the body temperature. So they use their surroundings to regulate their body temperature. So when it's really, really cold outside or cool outside, they just stick themselves out in the sun. I don't know if you can see me or not, because you can see a little bit of the sun on me. They're getting the sun to warm up. So the sun plays an important role with wildlife by helping having the energy help produce food so that animals have things to eat. So then other predators, carnivores, can eat those animals and use them as prey, as well as reptiles using the sun to warm up. So that's very, very important. That food web is tied to the sun. Also, and including us in the wildlife, the sun plays an important role because of the water cycle. Now, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, we experienced that quite a bit. We were flooding here not flooding, but the water levels were really high last week because of all the rain we had. And part of the reason why we had that rain is because of the sun. The sun is the driving force for the water cycle, which we've talked about here on this Discovery Club before. But the sun's up there, it's generating that heat and causes the water to evaporate, change from a liquid to a gas as it rises up in the atmosphere, meets a layer of cold air, it condenses and forms all these clouds, and those clouds get so heavy, they're so heavy, they have to drop all that moisture in the form of rain, sleet, snow, hail, and so forth. So we get all that rain and water. Just like I said earlier, you don't want to have too much of something at one time, but all that water replenishes all the lakes and the streams around here, which is important for aquatic animals and animals that use it to drink and so forth. So as you can see, the sun is so important. And without the sun, well, we wouldn't know life. We wouldn't have life as it exists, because the sun is so important for us in so many ways. So I hope you enjoyed that little talk about the sun. I hope you go out and don't stare at it. Get some sunshades. But go enjoy it and allow it to warm your skin. Allow it to put you in a good mood and allow you to have strong bones and so forth, so that you can go out and play and enjoy nature and discover nature out there on your own as well. All right, guys, that's been this is going to be a wrap on this edition of Discovery Club. As we learned about the sun, tune in next on our next Discovery Club, which is going to be our last. So sad. It's going to be our last one. I'm going to miss you guys, but you're going to come visit me. You're going to come here at the Nature Center, and you're going to say, "Hey, Mr. Michael, how's it going?" So we'll see you again. I promise you that. But our next session, we're going to talk about, kind of continue on the theme of summer, really, things of summer. We talked about first the sun, because we think about summer, we think about heat, right, and the sun. But we're going to talk about plants, particularly cactus. We're going to talk about cactus and how they can endure the summer heat and so forth. So thanks again for tuning in, and I hope you have a wonderful day, rest of the weekend and rest of the week. And as I always say, I encourage you to get outside and discover nature for yourself, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.